Yeah, my name's Rob Jacoby. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in Asheville, North Carolina. I've been practicing therapy for about 21, 22 years, and I've had the privilege of really having every kind of position you can in mental health. So I've done things like gang violence prevention, working in maximum security prisons, intensive in-home, psychiatric residential treatment facilities, just finished 7 years in a residential treatment center for adolescent females, specializing in attachment and trauma, private practice, so a little bit of everything. Modalities I use in my practice, so talk therapy, didactic therapy, big fan of equine assisted psychotherapy, so using horses as a part of an experiential process, other experiential therapies, and just most recently been getting heavily into EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization reprocessing, as well as some brain spotting that's coming up here on the horizon. So using the Saraz Handpan, that was an easy transition. Drumming has always been a big part of therapy for me. I've always had drums in the office, rain sticks, didgeridoos, but drumming has just always been a great way to get clients out of their head and explore different things, connect, regulate emotions. There's a couple different ways that I use the Saraz, and some of those ways are regulating emotions. If I've got a client who's dysregulated, just getting them a little off of their train of thought. I use an EMDR for the installation process, and sometimes it's just a great way to connect with clients if you're just getting to know each other. So drumming is a great way to get people into their hearts, and one of the things that really we've found that heals trauma is to experience things that are rhythmic, predictable, and consistent, patterned. And so just like when a baby is crying, you see a mother will pick the baby up or the father and rock it, and then that soothes the baby. So what you're doing is you're giving the system something that's rhythmic, predictable, and consistent, much like a drum does. When you're playing the Saraz Handpan, it can get you out of a place of fight, flight, freeze into a very different place of being open emotionally. So in EMDR, there's two areas that the handpan is really beneficial for, and that is the container portion, where you have the client actually make a safe container in their head. And in doing so, what you're doing is, as we call it, tapping it in. So you're tapping on your knees or on the shoulders in a very slow rhythmic fashion. And what that does is it really brings the images and the emotions into your entire system. After you do some reprocessing during the EMDR, which is a faster pace, then at the end what we do is called installation, and that's when we are literally installing positive thoughts into the person's mind. And in doing that, instead of just tapping, we use the Saraz Handpan because it just brings a whole nother level of music, and the experience of acquisition becomes very different when you've got music instead of just tapping. The Saraz Handpan's kind of showing up in different areas of working with clients, especially over the last couple of years. One in particular, I had a student client who really struggled with self-judgment, just expressing herself, and we thought it was a good idea to take the Saraz Handpan down to the pasture with the horses and combine a little bit of equine-assisted psychotherapy with some music. And what unfolded was pretty amazing. She went out, sat on a rock right in the pasture, and just challenged her to take the drum and just play and don't think about anything. And with the Saraz Handpan, it's amazing because you're not going to hit a wrong note. And she already had a piano background, and as she got lost in the music, the horse came right up to her and just put its face about 1.5 feet away from her. And then she kind of looked up and realized that she got lost in the music. And after that session, was able to say that that was the first time that she could connect with music without feeling judged or without judging herself. And that just opened up a different path of therapy, mindfulness, and that experiential feeling to really experience what it means to just go with the flow instead of talking about it, that's priceless. You can't find that in the office talking about those things. Yeah, and it was really in the middle of that session that I realized that it wasn't just a drum, that it really became more than music. You know, I think in being a therapist for over 20 years, you know, I oftentimes forget the anxiety that clients have coming into the office, not sure what to expect, how intense are things going to be. So to kind of break the ice and pull the Saraz out and focus on music, you know, which is I consider to be the universal language, it really sets the stage that, yeah, we're going to do some therapy and we might talk about some intense things, but it doesn't mean that we can't have fun along the way. Yeah, most recently I had a client who was diagnosed on the autism Asperger's spectrum. And before we figured out what the diagnosis was, there was a lot of miscommunication, really difficult to connect with this one particular student. And then as soon as I found out that they had a background in playing the piano, we quickly shifted gears and gave her the Saraz, and there it was. In a few minutes, she started playing the drum. The conversation just flowed, and it took the pressure off of that therapeutic intensity that we're going to talk about feelings to, let's just go ahead and talk about music. And so feelings came shortly thereafter. You know, I can ask clients all day how they feel, and they're going to try to use some English words to hone in on the emotion that they're having. You put a Saraz in their lap and then ask to play the emotion that they're having, it's pretty clear what it is that they're feeling, and the music itself surpasses any terms or words that they have for what's happening in their heart. I'm really thrilled to be able to be in the heart of Asheville, North Carolina. Amazing community, amazing town. People are amazing as well. To be able to offer private practice services, doing something that I've been doing for my entire career and that I love. And it's really just kind of nice to bring the Saraz into it. You can find me online at robertjacobyasheville.com, and that's got information about myself, my services, and contact info is there as well. I really believe that the handpan, the Saraz handpan, is just an incredible instrument of emotion. You know, the way that we can express emotion typically is through our words. We can convey to someone how we feel by telling them. We can give them a hug. That's a great way to convey emotion. But in a session where I just start working with a client, it's great to have them use the Saraz to express emotion, and even to just play along while they're talking. It's a wonderful tool to regulate emotions when clients are talking about stressful and traumatic events. And it really provides a pretty amazing soundtrack to psychotherapy that you normally wouldn't get.